Hi everyone, Petrik here. Today's video will be my March TBR. So in the month of March, I plan to read 7 books. I'm not sure whether this is possible or not, but I plan to read 7 books. My life will be super busy in the month of March. But also, there is the existence of the video game Elden Ring right now, and it's really hard to concentrate on more reading at the moment because of this game. I am a huge fan of From Software games, and Elden Ring is one of my most anticipated games at the moment. And now that it is out, well, I want to play it. I think I'm going to play it after I record this video. And considering how busy I am this month, and because a lot of people ask me about this, for now, I will not be reading or reviewing Bastion by Phil Tucker or maybe Iron Prince by Bryce O'Connor and Luke Milenko. So this isn't because they're horrible or anything like that. What I've read from Bastion is actually pretty good so far, but right now, at this moment, it's really hard for me to concentrate on reading a 900 to 1000 pages book. It's really difficult right now. So right now, all the books I'm reading ranges between 200 until about at most 600 pages per book. So yeah, that's really the only reason why I'm not reading or reviewing Bastion and Iron Prince at the moment. But I will get back to these 2 books quite likely within this year when I'm not too busy. So yeah, let's get started. The first book that I plan to read, this is one of my most anticipated book of the year. Actually, this is my second most anticipated book of the year after The Last Mellow by Brandon Sanderson. Speaking of Brandon Sanderson, his recent announcements is just insane. It still baffles me as we speak. But yeah, this is my second most anticipated book of the year, and this is The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. Yes, exactly. I have in my hands, or in my Kindle, the second book in the Bloodstone saga by John Gwynne. For those of you who are new to my channel, John Gwynne is one of my top favorite authors of all time, and The Shadow of the Gods was one of my favorite books of last year. But seriously, every book by John Gwynne belongs in my favorite bookshelf. And The Hunger of the Gods is the continuation to The Shadow of the Gods. Look at this cover art. This is absolutely epic. The cover art is again done by Marcus Winnie, and I am pretty excited about this. I have always loved John Gwynne's books, and the beginning of The Hunger of the Gods already made me love his books even more. Why? Because not only he included a character list, a detailed character list, and then there is also terminologies which in my opinion is really needed in this series. And finally, this is very important, there is a section what happened before in the previous book. So there is a detailed summary of what has happened before in the previous book. This is something that's incredibly important to me. If you're an author and you're watching this right now, if you include a detailed summary of your previous books in your recent book, believe me, there is a bigger chance of me reading your sequel sooner, because this means I don't have to spend the time to reread the previous book in the series just to refresh my memory when I don't have the time. So yeah, I am pretty excited about reading The Hunger of the Gods. John Gwynne has always been great with his first book of a series, but he's excellent when it comes to sequel, and especially the final book of his series. That's where his best books were. And this book is also dedicated to Harriet Gwynne, John Gwynne's daughter, who has passed away. To John Gwynne and his family, although I have personally said this to you, you have my condolences. It is incredibly heartbreaking, and yeah, there is nothing I can say to ease your pain. I know that this book will be awesome, just like always, and I hope that many people will pick up this book. Then the second book that I want to read in the month of March is a self-published fantasy book, and it is Legends and Lattice by Travis Baldree. So if you're not on Twitter, you probably haven't heard about this book, but this book at this moment has a 4.71 average rating on Goodreads out of 400 ratings just within 2 weeks of its release date. And it has also acquired almost 400 reviews on Amazon. For those of you who don't know, this is something truly impressive. I am no stranger to voicing just how important cover art is, and this is a fantastic example of just how influential a cover art can be. When we're going to start reading a book, usually we have a certain level of expectation, whether they're high or low. But I think it's safe to say that I'm not the only one who have my actual reading experience lowered or significantly decreased because the book itself failed to meet our high expectations, or in some worst cases completely different from our expectations. But this is what Travis Baldree did right, and I think this is why, even though I haven't read this book, this is why the book has already received such high ratings and so many people love it. So this is the synopsis for Legends and Lattice. High fantasy with a double shot of self-reinvention. Worn out of the decades of packing steel and raising hell, Viv, the orc barbarian, cashes out of the warrior's life with one final score. A forgotten legend, a fabled artifact, and an unreasonable amount of hope lead her to the streets of Tune, where she plans to open the first coffee shop the city has ever seen. However, her dreams of a fresh start pulling shots instead of swinging swords are hardly a sure bet. Old frenemies and Tune's shady underbelly may just upset her plans. To finally build something that will last, Viv will need some new partners and a different kind of resolve. This is a hot cup of fantasy slice of life with a dollop of romantic fraud. So the cover art by Carson Lowe Miller and also this premise just sets everything right. As it's shown in the cover art and also as it's stated in the synopsis, I have a good feeling that this will be a relaxing and this will be a fantasy book with low stake. And most importantly, I think this book will be wholesome. So yeah, I am so looking forward to reading Legends and Lattice, and this is only 200 pages long anyway. And the third book that I plan to read, this is The Last Wish by Sapkowski. Yeah, this is the first book in the Witcher series, or to be more precise, this is the first collection of short stories in The Witcher. So this illustrated edition is why I haven't started the Witcher series up to this day. And now that I finally own this edition, I'm going to be reading this within this month. This cover art is done by Tommy Arnold and this is designed by Lauren Panepinto. I am a huge fan of the video games, especially Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt. And yeah, I'm really hoping that the books will be awesome as well. I have heard kind of mixed things about the series, especially for the main books. So the first two books, the first two collection of short stories, they are The Last Wish and also Sword of Destiny. But after that, starting with The Blood of Elves, I've heard mixed things about it. But yeah, I'm hoping that I will love the entire series. And this illustrated edition, well, it features 7 gorgeous illustrations from 7 award-winning artists, one for each story in the collection of adventures. And for those of you who don't know about The Witcher, this is the premise of The Last Wish. Geralt of Rivia is a Witcher, a man whose magic powers and lifelong training have made him a brilliant fighter and a merciless assassin. Yet, he is no ordinary killer. He hunts the vile fiends that ravage the land and attack the innocent. But not everything monstrous looking is evil, not everything fair is good, and in every fairy tale there is a grain of truth. And yeah, this is the end paper. Look how beautiful this is. Yeah. And yeah, this is the naked hardcover. Ta-da! People like to invent monsters and monstrosities, then they seem less monstrous themselves, by Geralt of Rivia. And I'm going to show you as a teaser the first interior artwork on this book. Ta-da! This is by Tommy Arnold. So I will be doing a review for this Last Wish. And in that review, I will be talking about the book and also about this edition, whether it's worth it or not. And after that, my next book will be Relic of the Gods by Philip C. Quantrill. This is the third book in the Echo Saga series, and this will mark the conclusion of the first trilogy in the 9-book series of the Echo Saga. I've been enjoying my time so much with reading this series. Empire of Dirt, the second book, is even better than the first book, Rise of the Ranger. And yeah, I have a feeling that Relic of the Gods will be even better than the first 2 books, which will be impressive because I have really enjoyed reading the first 2 books. I highly recommend Echo Saga for readers who love classic fantasy told with a modern narrative. I have done a full spoiler-free review for Rise of the Ranger on this channel, and I will be talking more about Empire of Dirt on my wrap-up video soon. Then the next book that I plan to read, again, this is the conclusion of a trilogy, and it is The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden. I have talked about this before, but the Winter Night trilogy is one of my top priority series to start and finish within this year. And yeah, I'm going to finish it within this month, and I'm really hoping that Winter of the Witch will be the best of the trilogy. I have really enjoyed The Bear and the Nightingale and also The Girl in the Tower, but for some reason, rating-wise, I still can't give any of the books in the series higher than a 4 stars rating because I can't seem to care too much about all the other characters except for the main character, Vasha. Vasha is awesome. I love Vasha. But so far, other than Vasha, it's kind of difficult for me to care about the other characters. But yeah, I'm hoping that Winter of the Witch will be the best of the trilogy. And finally, the last book that I plan to read in the month of March, or the last 2 books, well, this is The Heir of Navrun by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the last omnibus in the Rhyria Revelation series, and it contained the 5th and the 6th book of the series. Book number 5 in the series is titled Wintertide, and book number 6 is titled Persepliquis. This will be the second time I read through The Heir of Navrun, and judging from every book that I've read from Michael J. Sullivan so far, this omnibus is still his best work. Although the quality of the prose may not be as well polished as his writing in maybe Legends of the First Empire. I've read only the first book, and also Rhyria Chronicles, but this remain to this day my favorite books by Michael J. Sullivan. He did a lot of things right, and Persepolis to this day remain one of the best and most satisfying conclusion to a fantasy series that I've read. I am so looking forward to reading this omnibus again, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the second time I read through the Heir of Navrun will be even better than the first time I read through it. So yeah, that's all the books that I plan to read in the month of March. Which one do you think looks the most interesting, or maybe you've read some of these? Do let me know your thoughts on them, and do let me know which books you plan to read in the month of March. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye bye.